the Mizz Nina before, and going through what I did and all the things that I did, he had to be a patient guy. You know what I mean? And I think through my change, he was even more patient with me. And I think, alhamdulillah, I must have put him through quite a lot, I think, with the befores and all that.
I'd like to talk to you about a very difficult subject, actually, which is how to present the Quran and, on a larger scale, how to present the message of Islam to our families, how to give da'wah to our own families. A lot of times I feel when this subject is talked about, it's made oversimplistic. And there's no doubt about it that the subject is complicated, because family life for everyone is complicated, right? It's never simple. A lot of times people come up to me, a frustrated wife will come up to me and say, my husband doesn't pray anymore, how do I get him to pray? Or a mother will come up to me and say, my son doesn't pray anymore, or a father will come to me and say, my daughter, my son, my wife, etc., etc. And tell me something I can tell them. Or the best one is they pull them over to me and say, could you talk to them for me? Which is the most embarrassing thing you can ever do to a teenager. Here, this is my boy, he doesn't pray, talk to him. I can't tell you how many hundreds of times that's happened. But the thing to note is that there are a few elements, there are a few factors, and you have to be mindful of all of them. So let's start with the first one. And that is that in Surah Al-Asr, when Allah Azza wa Jal gives us a sense of urgency, that you want to do tawasi bil haqq, and you don't have much time left. When somebody learns that, they're like, I don't have much time left with my family. I need to get them to understand this quickly. So the first element is a sense of urgency. The problem is, though, when you only think about the sense of urgency, you become desperate, and you become overbearing, and you become maybe too intense, and then people react, and even your family says, what are you doing? Why are you going crazy? They already think Islam makes you crazy, and now they see you act like this, and they think Islam makes you really crazy, But we respect the fact that on the one hand, there is a sense of urgency. We never take this casually, okay? But just understand that that sense of urgency is inside, not outside. That's the big difference. For a lot of people, it is inside and then it gets on the outside, and then it becomes too much for people to handle, right? The second thing to appreciate when it comes to this subject matter is that you have to understand something about yourself. Allah says, وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُم مِّنْهَا. You used to be at the very edge of the hellfire, and He pulled you back from it. In other words, you were pretty bad yourself. You weren't that great. And Allah decided to eventually give you some guidance and turn your heart. So if that's entirely up to Allah, then you have to understand that I cannot change anyone. I can't change my wife, I can't change my kids, I can't change my husband, I can't change anything. That's entirely up to Allah. Now think about this. If somebody's frustrated with their wife, then talk to Nuh alayhi salam. To Nuh alayhi salam. I mean, he should be frustrated with his wife, and that's a long time to be frustrated. If somebody's mad at their kids because they don't listen, maybe you should talk to Yaqub alayhi salam. Because he's got some pretty messed up kids. Like if somebody's, like their uncle doesn't listen, maybe you should talk to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Abu Lahab's a pretty terrible uncle. The Quran actually gives us, in multiple scenarios, problematic relationships. And there's a reason that was given. Like the best people, the prophets are the best people, and they had problematic relationships. Isn't that the case? You know what that's telling us? That's a normal part of life. Don't say, oh, I wish our family was normal. I wish we had a normal... No, hold on. Challenges in relationships are a part of life. And if Allah didn't even spare His prophets from that, we should accept that as a reality. That is a reality. We want to help our family, no doubt about it, but we also have to be respectful of reality, cognizant of reality, And speaking of, problematic husbands, even talk about wives. If somebody has a problem with their husband, a woman has a problem with her husband, we should go talk to Asiya radiallahu anha. She's kind of got Fir'aun, So every scenario you can think of is talked about in the Quran. Every relationship that you could possibly have a problem with. If you don't get along with your sibling, there is the Habil and Qabil story. There's the Yusuf and his brother story. There's all of these stories that are there for a reason. Now, the thing is Now it gives you an appreciation that when you're having trouble in your relationships, you're supposed to find comfort in these stories. They become, counseling for you and for me. Yaqub alayhi salam couldn't turn his kids around overnight. It took many, many years before they came eventually to make tawbah. Many, many years of him crying and them even making fun of him. Tafta'u tadhkuru Yusuf hatta takuna harada. Are you going to keep mentioning Yusuf until you, go blind? Or until you kill yourself? They literally told you, you're going to kill yourself, old man. Inna abana fi dhalalim mubin. Our dad is just so confused. They talk about their dad like they're talking about a prophet like that. On top of that, they're dead. So this exists. So that's the second thing, a recognition of reality and that we are not in control. But then what is our job? The question then is, if I have this deep frustration inside me that I want to change my family, and second of all, I realize it's not in my hands, what am I supposed to do then? What you're supposed to do is this third part, and that third part is loving counsel, loving reminder at the right time. I love the story of Luqman radiallahu anhu when he gave advice to his son. The ayah says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ نَشْكُرِ اللَّهِ. And then after that, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. This is really remarkable language. He says when Luqman was giving advice Luqman said to his son, and at the very moment where he was in a position to give him advice. In other words, there are times where you can slip something in, and there are times where you should just be quiet. Don't say anything. You're not supposed to be 24/7 da'wah, man. Nobody will want to talk to you. Nobody will invite you to the Eid party. He's going to start giving us a khutbah again. I hang out with my family all the time. The outside world, YouTube, knows me as a guy who gives lectures. I have never given a lecture to my family, ever. Giving them da'wah actually means something else for me. Like if you're having a hard time giving da'wah, well, let me tell you, me too. The most important thing to change is attitudes on the inside. And the attitudes will only change if they see that you have become a better person because of religion.